States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming out for our October 20th, 2016 regular Board of Education meeting. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Mrs. Clinton, Mr. Stanmeyer, and their staff for having us at the middle school this evening, taking us on a little tour. We are going to get things started with our Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Michael Brooks, with correspondence and communications.
We do not have any correspondence and communications to report at this time, correct, Mr. Fitzgerald?
And we'll move on to our reports for the evening, again with our Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bell. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to the middle school. Certainly, middle school, thank you for hosting tonight. We appreciate the time that we're going to be spending with you tonight. Before I really get into a reporting of what I'd like to present to everyone, I do want to pause for just a moment and recognize our Board of Education. Next week is national, or at least statewide, Board of Education Recognition Week. The New York State School Boards Association promotes this each year, and I certainly would like to take a moment to thank our Board of Education and certainly highlight to the public what a Board of Education does. Now, there's a poster up, and it's also being posted in the schools. School boards lead so students can achieve, and I think that the Board of Education that you're looking at right here absolutely exemplifies that statement. This year, and in previous years as well, but this year also, this board has taken a strong stance in putting together a goal set that helps lead this district. We're looking at our goal set that focuses on finances, focuses on academics, focuses on wellness. These are very, very important elements, but also focuses on their own operations. And transparency and public work is extraordinarily important to this Board of Education, and it shows in the way we conduct our meetings. So we certainly would love to have a crowd like this at every meeting. Typically, we don't have a crowd like this at every meeting, but you're always more than welcome, and I think you'll learn an awful lot about the functions of this group and how they support learning in this school district. But just to give you a little bit more specifics, just to read a few statements from a fact sheet, school board members take on one of the most important citizen responsibilities, and that's overseeing the education of the community's youth. By setting policy, by establishing financial practices, it is the group that sets every tone that we work under every day. Creating a shared vision, setting direction for the school district, providing accountability for achievement results, developing a budget, aligning district resources to improve achievement, supporting healthy school district cultures, and many more things too. So at this point, I would like to ask anyone here present to join me in thanking this Board of Education, which is an all-volunteer group, for the work they do on behalf of our children. And if the Board of Education would please accept a certificate that does read, proclamation, whereas each year the School Board Recognition Week is observed by more than 700 school boards and in school districts throughout the Empire State, and whereas our state's public education system is designed to meet the educational needs of all children and to empower them to become competent, productive contributors to society and an ever-changing world, and whereas members of local school boards are dedicated to children, learning, and community, and devote many hours of service to elementary and secondary public education as they continually strive for improvements, excellence, and progress in education, recognizing that all children can be successful learners, especially when education is tailored to the individual needs of the child. And whereas local school board members are strong advocates for public education and are responsible for communicating the needs of the school district to the public and the public's expectations to the district, by working closely with parents, educational professionals, and other community members to create the educational vision we all hold for today's students and those in the future. And whereas the members of the New York State local school boards respond to the educational needs of the communities they serve and help ensure the solid foundation of our school system. In doing so, these leaders help strengthen our state's educational system and improve future prospects for our children. And whereas during October 24th to 28th, 2016, special activities and programs will be held in communities across New York State in observance of School Board Recognition Week. and it is fitting to join in acknowledging the commitment and contributions of members of local school boards. Now, therefore, I, Andrew M. Cuomo, Governor of the State of New York, do hereby proclaim October 24th to 28th, 2016 as School Board Recognition Week. Board of Education, thank you for doing what you do. Irene will have a copy of that for each of you as we complete the meeting today. So thank you very much, everyone. You're a fantastic group of people that advocate for our children every day, and we appreciate that. A couple of points that I would like to report out. Ms. Heck has some information for us regarding an English Council Award and also a question that came up at last board meeting regarding CPR and first aid. So, Ms. Heck, I'm going to pass that over to you.
Okay, which would you like first?
It is completely up to you.
It's my honor to share with you, is that on? That Ms. Ricky Masella has been selected as the New York State English Conference 2016 Educator of Excellence Award. She will be attending a conference tomorrow with the English department in honor of that. The Educator of Excellence Award honors teachers who are leaders in the classroom, collaborators with colleagues, and mentors for teachers new to the profession. She has been acknowledged for implementing best practices and for challenging her students to become skillful readers and writers. Her work has shown dedication to her own learning and her profession that inspires her students and colleagues. She will be attending tomorrow with the English department from the high school, as well as Ms. Neely, who will be representing the school district. It's a great honor. I think all of our English teachers at some point over their career have received that honor. The clap from our section here. And then for the CPR question, I'll just bring you up to date. It is now mandated that students get CPR training. So last year we began the training, and Ms. O'Donnell worked with myself and Mr. Lawler, and we trained the senior class as of last year. Moving forward this year, we would like to train senior and sophomores and juniors, and we're working that out to do it through their health class and through PE. And then next year, after all of these students are trained, we can just now work on the sophomore class, the ones that are coming in. For staff that we've had trained so far, the clerical, hall monitors, health, and PE teachers were trained in April of 2016. Hall monitors received other training in October of 14, and nurses received training in March of 15. In addition to that, we're going forward with training our nurse, Anifesta, and then we're going to continue using her to in-house training of CPR.
And is that CPR training include the use of the AEDs?
Yes.
And have
We also do first aid training.
That was the next
Yeah,
question. Have we
basic
discussed
first
the
aid,
possibility of
basic first aid and CPR.
Okay.
There are many components, so.
Was your question, Chris?
Yeah.
What entity is doing the training?
Which entity is doing the training?
Our nurses are doing the training. Our-
Who's providing the, is it Red Cross?
Yes, Red Cross.
Next, I do have a question for the Board of Education to, just to give me some guidance as far as how you want to proceed with it. And one of the board goals is looking into electronic meeting documentation. And there are several options that are out there. Certainly one of the more predominant ones is one called NISBA Board Docs, and I had given some basic documentation on that a few months ago. Is the Board of Education interested in having a presentation from NISBA, from a representative from NISBA that would walk us through that whole module and how it works? Or are you looking for just additional documentation to consider at this point? I just want to get some perspective how you'd like to proceed on that. I've already had some communication with the representative, and he's more than willing to come down and show the board how it works.
I think it would be nice to see a presentation and see, I mean, eDocs is good for us, but it's not user-friendly.
Right.
It's a little a little cumbersome. I think something better would be in store for us.
Okay. I'll set something up for him to come in during one of the next couple of work sessions. Okay? Great. And last from me, Pat's going to give us an update on lead testing. We will be complying with our public notices. Just to give, actually, I'll let Pat give a little background on it.
Sure. So we did complete sampling at the elementary school. Just for some background, we had done on our own prior to this mandate for testing. We had done testing in all 3 buildings. We had, at that point, we found one issue at this building where we closed down one sink that tested out of specification. We haven't been able to get that back in the specification yet. And we had an issue at the high school where we believe we had a valve that had an incompatible material construction. We changed that and everything turned out good on the retesting. After that, the state came down with a mandate that we test every single possible point where a student could drink water, which included sinks, drinking fountains, the sinks in the bathrooms. So we did, the mandate was to, by the end of September, have all the elementary schools throughout the state sample. We did comply with that. We were sampled. We pulled 161 samples at the elementary school. We just, 2 days ago, got the results back from that testing, and we wound up with 3 locations that tested high. One was an outside water spout that's not used for drinking. Our remediation there was just to put a sign, non-potable water. And then we had a drinking fountain that showed up high. And just so everybody understands, when these are showing up high, what happens is you have to sit for 8 hours with no flow of water. Then they take the first sample out of that sample point. So in theory, that's the first drink of water that would be taken out of any one of these locations first thing in the morning. So when you hear something came up out of specification, it doesn't necessarily mean it's out of specification throughout the entire day. It's that first amount of water that comes out of that faucet. So we did shut down that drinking water faucet. We will look to remediate that by adding a filter or whatever mechanism is necessary to get that within specification. And then we also had a sink in the kitchen that was used for washing dishes, which again we were able to label as non-potable water. The average failure rate is 10 to 15%, so at 161 points we would have expected about 24 failures, and we actually have about 1.86% rate, so much lower than what the average is and very manageable for us. This morning Larry was here with the OU risk management people at about 4 o'clock, and they sampled both the middle school and the high school. So I think we're probably about 4 or 5 weeks on the results right now because they've been continuously backing up as more samples have been taken statewide. So again, once we get those results, we'll then interpret whatever failure points we have and come up with a plan to remediate that also.
Any questions about the water? Pat, while we got your ear, just could you give us a quick update what's going on with the library? I know you've talked to me.
Sure. So we do think that we were able to identify what was causing the problem at the library. We think we had a mechanical failure of one of the louver motors. The way the air handling unit is set in that facility, it'll blend between drawing fresh air from the outside and recirculating air on the inside, depending on the CO2 levels, the humidity, relative temperatures. We were able to identify what we believe was the cause. Is one louver motor was not operational and was allowing that outside draw to remain fully open at all times. So I think unfortunately at the time of year that this happened, we also shampooed the rugs and cleaned the chairs in that library space during a high humidity ambient environment, and I think it was just the conditions were right to spur that growth. We've since taken numerous steps. We brought in commercial dehumidifiers to dry the space. We brought in air scrubbers to help scrub the air. We also actually physically removed each individual book in the library, wiped them down, wiped the entire cabinets down, cleaned the entire space. We now have the air handling unit operational, and we haven't seen any indication of any problems since then. So kids have been back in that space for, I believe, 2 weeks now, a week and a half, 2 weeks. So we do feel a lot better that we're able to pinpoint what we believe to be the problem, and we don't expect to have that reoccur. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks, anything else?
that is all for me. Move on to
We're going to move on to our Orange County School Board's representative, Ms. Joanne Reed.
Hi. Basically, what we discussed was going to the conference this week, and if there's anything that any of you would like the classes for me to take, please go online and look it up underneath New York State School Board Convention, because there's quite a bit going on. I am going to a law conference on the first day. The other nice thing was that we also discussed was the Lions Kids Recite, which we do here in Marlboro. It goes from, I believe, up to the age of 6, where they come in and scream. They showed us the machine and how it works and how fast and how quick it does and how they've flagged kids that actually need help. So I was very proud that they came and demonstrated that for us. And basically, that was really about it, other than talking about the delegate and going to conference. So it was a short meeting, but a good meeting. So thank you.
Questions for Joanne?
You pass your folder.
This one? Sure. Through the line, excellent.
We'll move on to our Ulster County School Board's rep, Mr. Frank Malazzi.
This quarter's meeting was on the night of our last board meeting, so, and nothing out of the minutes of substance. So they were talking about the conference also.
We'll move on to our student representative.
Hi, good evening. October has been the month of homecomings at Marlboro High School. We had Spirit Week last week, which a lot of students and faculty participated in, which led up to our football team's annual Black and Blue Bowl against Highland that we won 59-3. And the team also celebrated their senior homecoming. This Friday will be the first game for the sectional title. Both girls and boys soccer celebrated homecoming along with the volleyball, swimming, and tennis teams. The Messenger sisters won both the Mahalls and sectionals for this tennis and will be making their way to states at the end of this month. In celebration of our Spirit Week and homecoming, the varsity cheerleaders threw their annual homecoming dance. And the juniors and senior girls had their annual powder puff game, where seniors defeated the juniors 12-0. Our academics club, Science Olympiad and Mock Trial started up again this month, and they're looking for new members to bring to competition. The Safe School Ambassadors also had their first meeting of the year and hope to become a help to prevent bullying within the school. Next month, they will be training a group of middle schoolers to help in the lower levels and be prepared to take their spot once they come up to the high school. Also, tomorrow, Lancaster is holding an ice cream social to bring freshmen and seniors leaders together. Thank you.
Thank you, Michaela. Any questions from the board for our student representative? With that, we're going to move on to our presentation for the evening. I'll turn it over to Mr. Brooks.
The Board of Education has set a primary goal of an academic focus, monitoring programs and improving programs and assuring student achievement. So administratively, we've been looking at 3 overarching questions to drive our own goal set. 1, how did we do last year? 2, are we teaching the right things? And 3, are we teaching the right things well? It's as simple as that. Now, obviously, the devil's in the details, so the presentation you'll see tonight kind of weaves through the set of board goals and those 3 overarching administrative perspectives. So without any delay, I'll give that over to Mrs. Clinton, principal of the Marlboro.
So good evening and welcome to the Marlboro Middle School. It's my great pleasure to welcome you here to our building tonight and to provide you with an overview of some of the things that we did last year, as well as some of the programs that we have instituted for this year. And I just want to acknowledge As I mentioned in my 6th grade orientation when I met 6th grade parents this past summer, this was the start of my 25th year in education, and I'm pretty convinced that this is going to be the best year yet. And I'd like to acknowledge and welcome all of my faculty and staff who came, which has made our audience a little bit fuller. So I'm going to ask that they just stand up for acknowledgement for one moment. So we do appreciate them joining us tonight, as well as we have, as you can see over here, some of our teachers prepared to speak to you about some of the slides that we have prepared for you. So, as we reviewed the 2015-2016 year, we just wanted to highlight a few points. Obviously, we could spend a great deal of time on this, but we want to talk about a few of these points and then really bring you forward into where we are right now and then what our long-range goals are. So one of the areas that we looked at was our overall attendance, and is an area that is a focus for the state of New York, as well as an area that we have made a primary goal for us this year to try to increase the overall attendance rate, because obviously to improve student performance and student success, you need your students present in school and ready to learn every day. So as you can see, overall last year that was at 94.2%. We've set ourselves a goal of 96% this year, and we are hopeful that we will reach that goal, if not even exceed it. I also want to acknowledge that as we continue to implement the 6 through 8 ELA and math testing, our school district tends to be in the top, I'm going to say 1/3 of both Orange and Ulster County in the number of students who opt out or refuse to take the ELA and math test. And just to give you a sense, we had 29.7% of students refuse to take the ELA, and then by the time the math came around, which is the second test, we were up to 44%. So that does definitely play a factor in some of the numbers, so we just want to bring mention to that. We are hoping that we'll see more students decide to opt in and take the test this year, as we are confident that we have programs to prepare them to be successful. Last year also, we had 43 teachers and 30 non-teaching faculty and staff. Non-teaching would be more of around the lines of counselors, speech teachers. They don't have traditional classroom settings, so that's where that number comes in, along with our paraprofessionals and our teaching assistants, etc. Over the course of last year, we were charged with reviewing and revising all of our curriculum maps. So we have done that, and we are to ensure that we are teaching the right things. And I think overall we were doing well, but it certainly did tighten up the system and made sure that all of our curriculum maps are current and made sure that all the teachers were on the same page as regarding that. In addition, I just wanted to note that last year we had 32 8th grade students take the algebra regions. If you're not aware, the algebra regions actually counts on their high school transcript. And we had a 100% passing rate, along with 35 students taking the living environment exam with a 100% passing rate as well. Last year we had 164 8th grade students take the Spanish exam, which also counts for high school credit. We had 137 students pass, and in addition we provided a summer program and we had 12 additional students pass. I just want to bring note to that because that particular class was the class that only had Spanish in 8th grade. So you'll see as we moved our program back in a later slide, you'll see that hopefully our numbers will start to increase because our program has been rebuilt after we had some of those cuts in the past. Setting the goal to a pretty high standard, it is our desire to become an essential elements school to watch New York State designated middle school. That is our overarching goal that we'd like to strive for. Currently, there are 28 schools across the entire state, 28 middle schools that are actually designated as essential element schools to watch. So if you think about it, it's a pretty lofty goal because there's a lot of middle schools throughout the state. And so that is really kind of the eyes on the prize that we have in place for us right now. And I'm going to say that's probably not something that I'm going to tell you is going to be in place by the end of the year because it is a multi-step process. But we are fully engaged in looking at how we are doing with the rubrics that they provide and all the information they provide, because that is our ultimate goal. Setting some of the board goals for the middle school this year. One of our goals was to increase student engagement and connectivity academically, socially, and emotionally, where all students' needs are being met and success is possible. So this really aligns well with the board goal number 1. And it also addresses the idea of what middle level education is all about. It really focuses on the whole child, not just the academic component of the child, but their social and emotional well-being also. Another goal that we're looking at is looking at the benefits of homework. You hear a lot of discussion around the benefits of homework at the elementary level. And as a middle school that has 6th grade in there, we kind of blend the two worlds of elementary and secondary. And really analyzing how we're doing. Is our homework meaningful, purposeful? Does it support academic growth? And so we have a task force coordinated around this that has met. We also have some students who have helped draft a survey to provide to their fellow students to see how they feel about homework so we can gather data. We started to analyze how much teachers count homework, a lot of different work going on in that area. And of course, with our one-to-one initiative coming up, it made most sense to incorporate a goal around incorporating meaningful technology implementation in the classroom. And we are already utilizing to our fullest capacity all of our Chromebook cards and the computers that we have in the building, but we are anxiously awaiting more devices so we can take that to the next level. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Stanmeyer, who's going to talk a little bit about some of his targeted goals for this year as the assistant principal.
Thank you, Mrs. Clinton. You mentioned 25 years ago, I was entering the 6th grade, so it's kind of an interesting time period as I see these kids coming into the 6th grade, orientation, first day of school, lockers up to Frost Valley, so it just kind of makes you think. Now my 20-year reunion coming up next year, so it's kind of milestone time. So I developed my goals independently. We didn't really discuss initially. So my first goal, which is to improve school climate, bringing about a positive, welcoming, safe environment through consistent systems and incentive-based programs. Aligns with Board of Ed goal number 1, and similar to Mrs. Clinton's first goal, we want to address the whole child, and that is academically, socially, psychologically, academically, through sports. So, later in the slideshow, we're going to talk about things we have in place, programs, what we're doing to address that. But for me, it's so important to have a place where kids can come, to be safe, supported, treated in a consistent manner, but yet tailored to their individual needs, which, as we know, not every kid, especially this level, can be treated exactly the same way based on what they're going through. And in that goal, the word safe. So I've taken that on to be in the halls as much as possible to make sure, everything that we want to see happen the right way, we have control over, and we can kind of have our teachers help out and be in the hallways, etc. My second goal, which is to improve attendance rate, is again, all the research says how important that is. If they're not coming to school, they're not learning. If a kid averages about 10% absentee rate through the first 5 or 6 years of school, by the time they get to middle school, it's about a year's worth of time that they've missed. And it's so hard to make that up. Research goes on and on about factors and how it increases your risk factors for dropping out and all other kind of red flag type things. So getting the kids here as much as possible is a huge goal. And we'll talk a little more later about what we're doing about that.
I'm going to get him back later for that. And I just realized, just the last thing that was on that slide goes to that next level. Are we teaching the right things and are we teaching them well? So that's really the charge that we talked about, not only as administrators, but also as we turn it over to the department chairs. So I'm very fortunate in a moment to turn it over to our ELA department chair and our math department chairs this year, who will talk to you about all the hard work they did over the summer and to look at the results, as well as all the hard work that they do every single day in the classroom with students. So we're going to start with the 6-8 testing, and specifically around ELA, because as we know, the New York State report cards for schools always looks at these as indicators. So we did mention earlier that the opt-out rate is high, and we'd like to see more students participate, but you can see where we performed in comparison to the Orange County schools as well as the Ulster County schools in grades 6, 7, and 8. And we definitely recognize that there's still work to be done, and we continue, like I said, to strive every single day to improve performance, to make sure that we are teaching the students the right things, to make sure that we are teaching them well, and to really analyze and look at our data. But I just wanted to say that sometimes those numbers don't tell you the whole story. As you see, for instance, with the 8th grade ELA, we ranked 14th out of 17 schools in Orange County and number 7 out of 9 schools in Ulster County. Certainly nothing that we want to make the paper. There's a lot of other better things to put in. But we want to recognize, when you look at the cohort, and you look at those 8th grade students who are currently our 9th grade students, the number of students in 7th grade who received levels 3 or 4 was 15%. But by the time they actually took 8th grade assessments, we went up to 27.2% of students receiving 3 and 4. So the growth really does still happen, but obviously, like I said, we recognize there's more work to be done, but sometimes the numbers don't tell you the whole story, because obviously we're talking about students and performance and those who opt out and many different factors. But with that being said, we also very closely analyze how we performed and ways that we can make sure that we are teaching the right things well. So I'm going to turn it over now to the department chair of the English department, Alicia Hudak.
Thank you. Good evening. So what have we learned? The ELA department, although we're pleased to have shown some growth, we are aware that we need to continue to support our students in areas of grammar, reading, writing, and vocabulary. A careful analysis of our test results over the summer guided our work in curriculum writing to address our students' needs. Having this data in mind, we have implemented a school-wide writing format to bring our students to greater heights. To address gaps in grammar, we have subscribed to No Red Ink, an interactive online program that addresses everything from punctuation to sentence fluency. Excuse me. News ELA is another powerful tool as it fuses timely articles with testing questions. Students are able to change Lexile levels to suit their needs, annotate text, and self-assess their work to help increase their skill levels. Finally, in an effort to infuse technology and prepare our students for the future, many teachers have employed blended classroom models through Google Classroom and Edmodo, which gives students the opportunity to communicate with one another and with teachers, submit and edit work, and utilize online resources at home and with Chromebooks at school. With all of these programs in place, we continue to expand our practice and grow as professionals. As always, our top priority is our students and their continued success in ELA and state assessments. A paramount experience we had this year was through a workshop with educational guru Alan November during our superintendent's conference day. We were inspired by his philosophy on education, as well as the many exciting resources he presented to help increase student achievement through interactive websites such as Prism, Verso, and the Wayback Machine. We also strongly feel that in order for our students to be engaged and maintain ownership of their learning, they must participate in activities that are hands-on, applicable to real-life experience, and provide them with important questions and themes. We have recently found success with activities including Shark Tank, Breakout Classroom, Socratic Seminars, and mock trials. And then I had another slide. I'll just continue with my narrative. To ensure our continued development as educators, we are looking forward to participating in the district's literacy committee, attending various writing and technology-based workshops and seminars through groups such as the Hudson Valley Writing Project. And this summer, we hope to attend the Teachers Shakespeare Institute, as we are piloting Shakespearean sonnets in 7th grade and the play A Midsummer Night's Dream in 8th grade. We are also anxious to continue our technology training and are attending a workshop tomorrow on Doctopus and Goobrick, writing and rubric applications found on Google. Finally, in order to create consistency in writing, we hope to extend our building-wide writing format to the elementary level so that students feel confident once they reach the middle school level. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I look forward to sharing our future successes.
We're going to continue by talking about our math performance, as again we have listed up there how each grade level performed compared to other schools in Orange County as well as Ulster County. And again, we definitely can see growth, but we know that there's still much more work to be done. So I'm going to turn it over to my co-department chairs. I'm very fortunate, it's like 2 for the price of 1 in math. Mrs. Howlett, that was my my math reference. Did that make the paper? Mrs. Kimberly Hallett and Ms. Kathy Keene.
I can't see far and close, so I'm going to try to.
I'm just going to go in front. All right. Yeah. I think everyone can hopefully hear us. What? Okay, so we're going to start here with what we learned. Gratefully, every summer over the past, I would say 10 to 12 summer, we've been fortunate enough to meet and do some of our best work for summer curriculum writing. 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade math teachers over the past, I would say, as long as I can remember, have been approved to do some 10 to 15 hours of soul searching and analyzing data, questions, how our students have performed for standards that overlie each other. So Kathy and I have sat together over the summer and taken the 6th grade questions that all of the children do well on, have used that as our strengths, and then found the areas in the questions. The BARS data, which is the BOCE's assessment reporting system, allows you to run about 10 to 15 reports, very granular and very generic. So we have the opportunity to look at that information, although sometimes it comes in extremely late, and I say late as in the end of August. Those students that we have already taught, the data relies on them, and then those new students are going to a different grade level. So although it's useful for longitudinal studies, for example, if we have the same error being made by all of our students year after year, we focus on those particular types of errors. But some of those students, as we get that data in the end of August, they have left that grade, so we're getting the data after, and then they're going to the next grade. And it's not always true that a skill that is, although math is foundational, a skill that happens in 6th grade is going to be essential in 8th grade. So we have a little bit of a challenge, but so do all the other 17 school districts. Although I was very inspired to hear about all the technological opportunities that students have in today's educational arena, as a teacher, and most of our math teachers subscribe to, that pedagogy is really the main, good teaching practice is really the main emphasis that we're focusing on, and not necessarily the medium or the vehicle that excellent pedagogy comes through. So we are continuing to look at best practices, whether we decide as a team through research to utilize technology to make the best practice even better is something that we're, I wouldn't say struggling with, but constantly researching to make sure that if we choose technology over a teacher, that we're choosing it in math for the right reason. Collaboration from grade level to grade level we identify as a critical element. In our building, I would say our math department has excellent collaboration over the summer, throughout the school year, throughout the math department meetings every month. We are hoping to increase collaboration between buildings. So 5th grade to 6th grade, because of the physical building separation, and from 8th grade to 9th grade, we find traditionally that there is a dip in scores traditionally between those two grade levels, and that may be a factor in why that happens. So we're hoping to, in the end of June, when a lot of this information that we have in our brains is alive, that we can share those. We actually had a meeting a couple years ago with Mrs. Toombs. I think you guys were also at it. We found it to be extremely enlightening because we were able to take the 5th grade knowledge of those specific students and design a program in 6th grade that was very tailored to that group that was coming in. So what we learned in a nutshell, because I'm going to continue off from you, is that we are so grateful to you guys for giving us summer curriculum work, because we sat for hours and hours beyond the time you gave us, and we analyzed everything in that bar. We found, what are they not doing?
What are they doing well? We took question by question, we analyzed it, and we said, this is what we're going to teach from and teach to. And that hours and those, I just want to thank you and thank our supportive administration for allowing us to use the building to do that, to surf through and feed that. And as Kim said, pedagogy and collaboration is key. If we don't, when you talk about prep time and prep hours, where's the prep for us? Because I don't know, but we are constantly in each other's rooms. We're working with students. Having Kate come aboard, Kate Plover as our AIS individual has been phenomenal. Collaboration is the key, and we're even trying to do it. Christy B, I was at a PTA meeting with Patty Walsh, and me and her are collaborating about 5th grade math, and we need to keep doing that. We need to just keep doing that between grade levels. So collaboration is key. And we thank you guys for your support for lending that to us and giving us a professional development day tomorrow to extend that to the teachers we want to see every day, but we can't even get into their rooms as well. So what are we currently doing? We're sharing our best strengths and practices. We're utilizing common vocabulary. Just yesterday we went, and thank you again for sending us to a conference so that we can learn and share with other districts. Port Jervis was there. We had every district imaginable. It was a small group, but through the people that were there, and Mrs. Howell, you can support that, how many districts they've been in between Rockland, and we were sharing practices there. We were looking at strengths. We were looking at what do you use as common vocabulary. You know, we're dividing fractions. Are we going to take that keep, change, flip, or are we going to teach them it's a multiplicative inverse and go from there and teach them that vocabulary, not so much the tricks. The tricks can come in. But let's use that common vocabulary amongst, so that then our other departments can bring that in. Best practices, we've incorporated that into our department chair meetings. We'll do a little bit tomorrow and then on Monday again. And we are going to share out what is your best practice. This is a misconception that we're having from grade 4, 5, 6, and 7. How are we going to fix this, and how can we share it with the elementary school, and then so on and so forth. So that's part of our department meeting. You got to come in with a best practice, and let's share it. This is how we teach it. How are you doing it in your room? How are you doing it in your room? And let's intertwine that vocabulary so that all kids are saying it and they're hearing it over and over again. And then bam, by 8th grade, yes. And then they can move on to 9th grade. We take those annotated questions, and when I tell you we take them, we're using them as problems of the month. Do nows, exit slips. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to change the names. We're going to change the name to Mrs. Clinton, Mr. Stanmeyer, whoever. Whoever's in our problem, we're going to make it real world. But we're going to use and see that it's not, you know, when we were taking math classes, I don't know, but the question wasn't so complex. Now it's 5 steps in one. So we got to take them through. You have to read. I teach ELA and math, and I love every minute of it. Yes, is it a lot? But you have to read before you do the math. You read a question, kid gives up. No, we just read and we just found out that it was about baking and cooking. That's it. Second read, we take the read. Now pull the facts. Third read, we got to figure out what's the operation. Fourth read, now what's the strategy we're going to apply. Fifth read, we go from there. We have to do that. Reading comes first, then the mathematics. The best practices has been my favorite as being co-chair this year, and bringing that to the table and really say, no, we're making you do this. I don't care if we're here till 4 o'clock, but we got to do this. We have to share, and we have to share that common vocabulary. And then piloting our program tomorrow, which I'm going to go back to you. I am so excited about this program. It's an artificial intelligence program. We thank Robin. We thank all of you for allowing us, Deb and Damien, to bring this program as a pilot. I'm going to have Kim talk a little bit more about it, but it's for academic support. And it's an intelligence program that's going to help move our kids forward to fill in the gaps. So things that they can do at home with parents, with us, not giving more homework, taking that homework task force and saying this can be something that can be fun, but let's fill those gaps in. And Kim, let me have you address that in the next
So we found that McGraw-Hill has an online textbook component that we had access to many years ago. And often I'm lucky enough to contact the salesman, and they're willing to give us online IDs that allow us to look around and see what's new. So this past summer, we invited someone in to come. We saw this a system called Alex. It's typically, it's based on artificial intelligence, so it's a human brain doing the decision making, and it's called adaptive education. So a gentleman is going to come in, or actually I think it's going to be a woman come in tomorrow. It is geared toward RTI level 2, which is really students who are deficient within one math grade level. And what it allows is they take a diagnostic test, which is between 40 minutes to 1 hour. The system is intelligent enough to build a student progress educational plan that in an AIS or an academic lab where we typically have anywhere between 10 and 15 students, it allows each student to work independently on their own progress plan. And if they get stuck, there's either a tutorial that gets downloaded automatically, or there's a hint or a diagram or a picture that's dynamically created.
YouTube video comes in.
And there's also opportunities for the educator to look at real-time data and say, out of these 15 students, 12 of them cannot do percentage. So then the AIS teacher can take that small group and do a lesson while the remaining students, the other 10, can continue to work at their own specific diagnostic level. So they can be doing a completely different skill and still being taught in parallel. So it's extremely efficient. Now, how it works, we're entitled to use it for 3 months, and we'll see there are about 10 people looking at it and evaluating it in mathematics, special ed mathematics, and we'll see how, what things it actually provides for us as far as growth patterns.
And the start will be tomorrow, and you're probably saying, how are we going to do this? No, we're not going to put more homework on the student. 6th grade, Deb and Daving designed a beautiful program with library skills that we can have the 6th graders start, because the initiative for the Chromebooks will be 7-8 for our building. And then 7-8 between the labs and between us, even assigning that as a homework assignment, or getting the students that do not have computer access, where we can actually bring them in to work with them, even after school. So it's a 3-month program that we're going to try and see, but the goal of it, spitting back the goal immediate to us, saying, here's my 10, take those 10 after school, take those few with our AIS, and we just start targeting, and then build from there, and then we can give that extra practice at home when needed, and they can continue throughout the summer. So our opportunities for growth in the future. We're going to implement Alex. We're going to take off. We're going to give you an update after the next 3 months, let you know. And with our Chromebook initiative, we'll see where that goes. Professional development, we need to continue. In order to improve practices, we need to continue to offer it. We're going to use our IT people in place in our buildings. Tomorrow, Mrs. Weiss in our building will be part of our training. Mr. Morello will go from there. But again, going out to OU BOCES, going out, and for us, we love learning, if you haven't noticed it already, so we'd love to go out. Just yesterday we had to be out, and it was like, we don't want to leave the kids, but we have to. And then we came back and showed them things immediately, what we're learning, so we can continue these best practices. We also, again, and I know Ms. Hudak, Alicia actually fed on this, but across grade levels, we want to start with 4 through 8. We're so excited for the departmentalization. We thank you. I think that's the way to go. Start from 4 to 8, build with that writing program, and build with the math program that we have in store. We're going to actually use and allow our current staff here. We're very excited. You'll see it in a future slide, but we're excited to have that new staff, that new blood, the new opportunity, and to use what they know with what we know, put it together, and then actually go ahead. And research shows that, the more effective we are at communicating and getting that across in collaboration and sharing, that's where the Google Doc comes in. That's where the Google community comes in. Sharing those ideas is going to be best for students. So you walk from one class to another class, and you'll see the same things happening. Do you want to talk about the computer?
Yeah. So we're excited that it's extremely important for students at every grade level to become as fluent in an appropriate manner, starting in kindergarten and going all the way up through 12 with computer science program. What we're hoping the board and staff is allowed to do, if the staffing allows it, is to actually implement a full computer science program from K-12. We are doing some of the computing up here using STEAM classes, graphic arts through electives. but we're hoping to have a more consistent approach where all students in K-3 come with the same set of skills, whether it's usability skills, where things are called, what things are called, why you use computers, and then move that to 4-5, and the same set of skills. So when they do come up to the middle school, we already know that every student has had the same accessibility and the same background. And then we would take some more computing courses. We could actually do a computer science coding course. We did some of that in a STEAM class during the summer. And also at the high school, I know Mr. DiVenuto has some computer programming, but we would like it to be purposeful, planned, and equitable so that every student comes and is entitled to see the same thing, and not just a student in this particular faculty's classroom and not in the other one. So we would like it to be planned, purposeful, and consistent, so the same skills that the students come up with every year we can depend on and we can build upon that, so when they do leave for college, they have a consistent approach through K-12 in computer science or computer technology.
And full teaming, we're, again, going back to that collaboration, in order to really work as a team or a cohort or as a group, it's like a family, you need to be teamed. And we need to attach, those unified arts and bring those other people in. The Spanish, as Deb said before, bringing back that Spanish program was, critical. And Deb, I'm going to use your analogy a little bit, but when you take a program away, it's like losing a limb. Okay, you take one away, we can live without it. We know we can. But when you give it back, you can work as the whole person. So that collaboration, that full teaming, is critical. We're very fortunate in 6 to have true teaming in 6. So we have 2 separate teams, and we're housed together, and you can talk, and your common consistencies amongst each other are a lot easier. And then 7-8, we're working on that full teaming approach. We're not fully there yet, but we're getting there. But that's where you got to bring in your unified art and make everyone be connected and own it. So our model is evolving. How is it evolving? With our current practices, we have your veteran teachers, we have our new staff. We have our experienced teachers from other districts. We have teachers that are coming in, bringing things from other districts. Not only just going out to BOCES, but teachers that have been hired that have been other places, and they're bringing their wealth of knowledge. The new students that we're getting each year will bring you something, and we got to use that data on top of the data we have, and we just got to weave it together. Student teachers are a big plus. They come in having a wealth of knowledge as well. Whether it's the technology piece or teaching us something new. Again, we love to learn. And as you said before, our exposure to, you said the college level methods as far as the science program, but also, having those experience and meeting with other teachers from different districts. So as a department chair, we go out 4 times a year, and we meet as a math unit. And we talk with the other districts. What's going on? How is your geometry? What's your algebra regions? We talk, and that's the only way. Collaboration is key. And our goals for the future is we got to be creative with scheduling. We got to look at the staff we have. We got to look at their expertise. And we got to put them in. We have to put them in places that's going to work for the students. We have to use our staff productively. And I know Deb, she's the guru, and Damien on the scheduling. And I know they look at everything, just particularly this year. In general, we actually all have a common planning time. They made sure to do that for us. So whether we can meet 5th period together, and we can talk amongst the science department, social studies, we can meet together, we can talk, we can collaborate. But the full teaming needs to be in there. Did you want to add? I'm sorry. No, that's fine. Any questions for us? Good job.
Thank you. As you can tell, I'm truly blessed to work with such passionate teachers and have a magnificent faculty and staff here. So just moving ahead and just kind of wrapping up on a couple of things that we're also doing for the 2016-2017 school year. As Kathy alluded to, we have an increase in our AIS services for 6th grade with a new hire who helps support both ELA and math. We also have worked with our high school, and thank you to Mr. Lawler, who has looked at his schedule and found some ways to provide some additional staffing to us, a few extra periods from the high school in both ELA and math. We are grateful to have the full return of our 7th grade Spanish program for daily instruction. So once again, the students in our current 7th grade will have 2 years before they take that assessment that counts as a high school credit. So this current 8th graders, last year we slowly started to bring it back, and they had 7th grade Spanish every other day last year, and now we'll have 8th grade Spanish every day. But really having the 2 solid years prepares them appropriately to make sure that they are successful. So we are looking forward to those numbers of students who successfully pass the Spanish assessment to increase over the next 2 years. We also have increased opportunities for enrichment for students in 6th grade who are at or above grade level in math and science with some of our STEAM courses. So we've incorporated our technology teacher, one of our science teachers, and one of our music teachers, all to put that program together. And I believe we have somewhere around 60 to 70 students in the STEAM course in 6th grade this year as an enrichment opportunity. We are utilizing our team meeting times more fully this year. In general, we are meeting as not only with the team of teachers, but they meet with the counselors and the administrators, and we go over any kind of concerns or successes academically, as well as addressing, like I said, the importance of the whole child at the middle level, and looking at any kind of social or emotional issues that may be going on to ensure that we support them so they can be successful. And we truly have embraced technology to a fuller level this year, and you will see as you go around the classroom that technology is being utilized at all times. I literally walked up the stairs, looked in the first room, took that picture today and added it in, and I could have taken it from a variety of classrooms, but they were sitting there, that's actually Ms. Hudek's classroom, and using the Chromebooks for an activity that she was working on with them. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Stanmeyer to go. Well, actually, I'll go through this page and then I'll give it back. Homework task force I already talked about. ZAP is Zeros Aren't Permitted, which is a program that we have trying to encourage students to do their homework at all times to make sure that they are adequately prepared for the classroom. I'll give it to Mr. Stanmeyer to talk about student development in a second, but I have to make a commercial plug for our Power Up Night on November 7th. I hope everyone will join us. It's an evening for the entire family. We have workshops scheduled for parents that are appropriate for grades 6th, 7th, and 8th grade parents. If you've come in the past, we have new workshops and presenters, as well as fun hands-on activities for students where they can learn about careers, as well as play some games and have some fun while their parents are in classrooms learning. So I just had to steal that slide for a second so I can put that commercial break in there. I'd like that in the paper. Power Up Night, November 7th, a night for the entire family. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Stanmeyer.
No issue there, Steele, on that aspect of it. So real quick, ZAP, I know she mentioned real quick, it's each lunch period. We just found out today that one day of the week we're going to have an after-school component to it, and which will give us like a break one day and have those kids that owe homework stay after school and make up that homework. The goal is to have no zeros come in via homework, because that often will lower a kid's grade, which may help their self-esteem come down, and it's a cycle of feeling poorly about themselves. So with no zeros through homework, the grades are going to stay up. Student Development Committee is something that I chair. Once a month we meet. We had our first meeting a few weeks back. We had about 13 staff join us, and the goal this year is going to be really data-driven, looking at things like referrals, OSS, ISS, attendance, and really try to improve those numbers. That's part of my goals. So we're meeting next week, and the goal from that is going to be to come up with one programmatic change or one incentive program to turnkey back to the building. So we're thinking after the first quarter of the school year, kids that have earned it through attendance, grades, and behavior will be invited after school from like 2:30 to 4 for kind of games and other enrichment type activities. So we're going to iron that out. That's an example of what we're doing at the Student Development Committee. Attendance Committee, in coordination with Mr. Bukatsis, last year we met district-wide. Within the building, we have a strong team of the nurse, social workers, school counselors, myself, Mrs. Clinton, to really focus on who are these kids that are out, why are they out, how can we support them. So far we've made several home visits. We're on the phone often with CPS if calls for it. There's robocalls. Nurse Beck is just tremendous, communicating with their families daily. Mrs. Krakalici likewise. So brings us back to communication. Every day we talk. Who's out? Why are they out? What can we do? And that's so important to get those students in any way we can. And there's going to be a few that we just, for a myriad of reasons and whatnot, that we can't improve, but the goal is to improve it and get those kids here. So, and lastly on this slide is the mentoring program. Currently we have 19 students being mentored by 17 different staff. The goal of that, again, is to start at a foundational level and hopefully build up the capacity each year that we have this in place. My expectation is about 2 to 4 times a month, a teacher may meet with a student, check in with him or her, be a voice that, be an ear that they could listen to, get advice from them, just have another person in the building that cares about them, another hook for them to come into school, want to come to school. I know Mrs. Hudak's been plugged tonight, but I'll do it again. One student that she's mentoring made a mention that he comes to school, really, one reason is to meet with her. They go over their vinyls, and they talk about records and how that's coming back. And this is a kid that has missed 30-some days last year, and he's really excited coming to school more. So there's been several stories like that this year, so we're very excited for that. Some other things that we do, and the more you think about it, the more things just come into your head and we jot down. So Co-op Being Good is a lunch program. Our lunch staff is excellent about handing out these tickets. The kids fill their names out. We have a raffle once a week for a free ice cream or coupons to like McDonald's, Stewart's, Frank's, stuff like that. SWAT breakfast twice a year. I think we're in our 15th year of recognizing breakfast. What I said? 15th breakfast, right? Of recognizing students with admirable traits. Traits is what SWAT stands for. Sorry, I'm talking so quick. I'm driving off here. Sorry. Rewards for consistent school attendance. This week, I raffled off a pizza party with myself to 3 kids in each lunch period who had a perfect attendance in September. So that was no lates, no early dismissals, and no absences. And we made a big show in the cafeteria, and everybody was very excited for that. Frost Valley, we just came back from that. Assemblies where we have individuals come and with a focus on diversity and inclusion, Dr. Mikey Fallon, James Childs, Oldeas, I know it's district-wide, but that's been a great thing to have once a month. We meet, we have, again, Mrs. Garita makes wonderful lessons, just couldn't do it without her. Mix It Up Day, which is coming up soon during Spirit Week. We encourage children to think outside the box. Mix up the way they do things. We're thinking about changing the periods. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to do 2, 1, 4, 3, just to kind of put them outside their comfort zone so they understand what it's like to maybe be different or not have a day where things aren't the norm. So how hard that can be for certain people. Middle school ambassador program, student council, and Mrs. King here has been a tremendous driving force behind our district-wide cancer awareness team. And there's a picture up there in the top right. And she's brought together the community, the students, the teachers, to give back to the community with families.
And I want to thank the community, and I want to thank Miss Horton, Miss Reed. I saw you licking those ice cream cones in your families at Mary Jane's. So thank you for supporting us and coming out. We have 8 families identified in our school district going through cancer-related illnesses. 2 of them are teacher families. It's just it's a thing, and I want to thank Mr. Brooks for allowing us to do this. The kids in the gym classes, Patty in the elementary school, those kickers with Mrs. Taddeo, and in your phys ed classes, thank you. Our classes, Mrs. Lipsy, thank you so much for allowing the kids. They're kicking. When they kick, they have a pledge come in. If they just bring $1 or whatever, it's just going to a cause, and it's helping our community. So I want to thank you for supporting us with that, for the pledges that came home, for all those different things. Patrick, thank you for that 3:15 bus. I had to throw that in there. Thank you. They can make our signs and our banners and get home at a reasonable time and still do their sports. So, thank you.
You just make Patrick cover the building for you for 2 days, and next thing you know, you get the bus.
Thank you.
So we were only supposed to talk for like 15 minutes, and we totally know we blew that. So if we're graded on that, we're not getting a good grade. We hope you feel like you have a better understanding of the wonderful faculty and staff we have here, how we look at our programs, how we support our students. And we're just going to wrap it up with a very short video, 2 minutes, that shows our trip to Frost Valley, something we brought back for the 6th grade to get to know our students, to build our team with our students. I feel like now when I walk through the hall,
I can name almost all 100 of them that went, in addition to some of the ones that didn't go. So I feel like I'm getting to know almost all of their names. We had 14 staff members attend, faculty and staff members, 8 parents come along with us, 100 students, and it was just a blast. And so I'm just going to finish with the video.
On October 13th and 14th, 100 students and 15 faculty and staff from the Marlboro Middle School embarked on an adventure to Foss Valley YMCA in Claryville, New York. Foss Valley fosters skills for trust, communication, positive group dynamics, and problem solving. The activities conducted at Foss Valley help meet learning standards for New York State curriculum with a focus on real-life skills and problem solving.
Favorite parts of Frost Valley was the food because we could have a lot of it and it was very filling. I also liked doing the nature walk since it had a lot of interesting things to see. There were a lot of waterfalls and we walked on a big rope bridge. Also, we made shelters, which was very interesting and fun since we had to do it on our own without any help.
At Frost Valley, we went hiking. We went on a whale watch and we had to balance it with our whole group on it. We went on 2 cable bridges and we also learned survival skills, including how to build a fire and how to build a waterproof shelter.
Frost Valley was a great place. I learned a lot about the earth and how we use its resources, how to be kind to each other, and outdoor skills. Making the fire and building a shelter was my favorite. I wish I could do it again. The food was very tasty. Our table tried to be as full as possible. Frost Valley was the best field trip I've ever been on.
And Cassie Messina for putting together that video, and you can tell that those are authentic things that students are saying about their experience. So if we all had a great time, again, thank you for your patience and endurance through our passion here, and if you have any questions, we'll certainly be happy to answer them for you.
You gave so much information, I really appreciate it. I was wondering if you had a hard copy of your presentation.
Would you like mine?
We're also going to be posting this on the website within the next couple of days too, so it'll be available with the PowerPoint. The almost 50-year-old got up with no problem. Just saying.
Just saying. Sure, right.
All right. So, Mark, that's Power Up Night, November 7th.
Yeah. And then I'll give you a copy for the presentation. Good. Any other questions?
I think Mr. Brooks just has a few things to wrap up with.
If there's any questions first, certainly. Any questions? Like I said, we're going to post that PowerPoint online, do some reorganizing of a couple of things and get that up there so it's available publicly. I'm leaving with an impression here, and I truly appreciate the staff that came out tonight and participated in this process, but I hope you take away from that the passion that I saw. And that surely is what we look for, people with passion. But more importantly, our teachers need to hear this, our board needs to hear this, our community needs to hear this, and we need to remind ourselves as administrators too. Our teachers are empowered to do well. We don't want strings attached to everything. We truly, from me all the way through the entire system, want them to teach the right things and teach the right things well. So that summertime curriculum work that you referenced, is giving you the time to determine what are those things and how do I approach that. And it is certainly a work in progress, but it's good progress. So I appreciate the time and effort that's been put into that, and keep it going. That is something that we truly appreciate. And I love hearing that 4 through 8 continuum. That 4th and 5th grade teaming structure, feeding right into what we have in the middle school here, is a fantastic foundation for what goes on at the high school level. So thank you very much. It is a work in progress, but the work is valuable. So keep it up. Thank you.
I think it's also commendable that you've set some lofty goals for yourself, and that's obviously the best way to succeed is to aim high. So kudos to you guys on that as well. Any other questions, comments on the presentation? With that, we're going to move on to item number 6, which will be our public comment on this evening's agenda items. If you have any questions or comments regarding this evening's agenda items, please approach the podium, speak into the microphone, state your name and town, and address the Board of Education, please. Any questions on this evening's agenda items? Now we're going to move on to item number 7. Resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, acknowledges the receipt of the following 2015-16, 2016-17 reports and minutes as presented. A motion for approval of our consent agenda reports, please. James, second. Frank, any discussion? Russell?
Yes.
James, Jeff?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Item number 8, resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approves the following personnel recommendations as presented. Motion for approval of this evening's personnel recommendations. Frank? Second. Russell? Discussion?
I have one question. At one of last month's meetings, there was a discussion that we didn't have enough people to participate in mock trial. But now I see so I'm hoping that we get an influx of students.
We did, we're up to 17 students right now that are participating. We
That's
started
great.
with 3 and then 4, and then we're up to 17, and the advisors are recommitted.
That's great.
We also, were on the same theme, we were on the verge of potentially having to cancel girls modified soccer, but Ms. Clinton and Ms. O'Donnell, our athletic director, more specifically our athletic director, circled back multiple times with the league and retooled how girls soccer is being played in the league temporarily for this year, so we were able to field a modified team. So instead of having 11 players on the field with a roster of 14, we can have fewer players, because there are other schools in a similar boat. So we want these athletes to play. We didn't want them to sit on the sideline. So thank you to Ms. O'Donnell for doing that. So we didn't have to recommend removing that stipend. Kids can play.
Other questions, comments on the personnel recommendations? Russell?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Item number... Absolutely.
The Board of Education just appointed 3 new teachers, and I would like to introduce those 3 new teachers. You've prepared your speeches, correct? Only kidding. Only kidding. Natalie Pascal has been appointed as a special education teacher for us here in Marlboro. She comes to us with certification in special education, elementary education, nursery through 6, and English speakers of other languages. She did her undergraduate work at Mount St. Mary College in Hispanic Studies and has a graduate degree from SUNY New Paltz in TESOL. So, Natalie, welcome to Marlboro. We also just appointed Emily Ochin, and Emily comes to us with certifications in special education 1 through 6, elementary education 1 through 6, and literacy birth through 6. She has an undergraduate degree from Mount St. Mary College with a BA in elementary with special education, and a graduate degree from Mount St. Mary College with a master's in literacy birth through 6. Emily, welcome to Marlboro. And Elisa Wood has been appointed as the new school psychologist. She is coming with school psychologist certification with an undergraduate degree from Hofstra University in psychology and a graduate degree from Marist College in school psychology. Elisa, welcome. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the hallways. We'll see you soon.
Welcome. Moving on to item number 9, resolve the Board of Education upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools acknowledges receipt of the CSE CPSE recommendation meetings as listed below. Motion for approval of this evening's CSE CPSE recommendations. Russell, second. James. Discussion? Russell.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Item number 10, resolve that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approves the following administrators as having completed the lead evaluator course from all-rail evaluation, lead evaluator course for evaluation of teachers effective September 22nd, 2016, as listed. Motion for approval of our APPR lead teacher evaluator recertification. James, second. Frank, discussion?
So we're approving that they've completed. They are lead evaluators.
Correct. APPR, my microphone keeps on tipping over, sorry. APPR regulations require that the Board of Education approve the certification of lead evaluators. In order to become a lead evaluator, you need to complete a course and a recertification each period of time that shows that you have the requisite skills to be a lead evaluator. So it's a pro forma approval, but one that's required. So Robin oversees that piece, and we're asking for your approval.
So my question also is, at this point, how many do we have that are approved?
All administrators.
Just the ones that are on the list tonight, do they have to be recertified every year? Or,
Good question.
I was recertified in a different meeting, and now we have 2 more that I've recertified in that.
so it's just who's on the list now can just do the evaluations?
These people plus myself
Right?
can do the evaluations. They
That's what
can
I'm
do
asking.
the evaluations, but they're just getting a recertification. They've already been certified to do them, so they can continue to do them. But by the end of the year, we need to have a recertification, which will be, research is going to be pretty hard.
So there's only seven people that can do the APPR evaluations. That's what I'm asking.
The administrators.
Yeah, we have 6 building administrators, plus we have Robin and we have Rose.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions regarding APPR lead teacher evaluator recertification? Russell.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Item number 11, resolve that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, approves and authorizes the Superintendent of Schools to sign the following agreements as presented with Discovery Education. Motion for approval of the contract for this evening. Frank, second. Susan, discussion?
What is,
Discovery Education is an online streaming video service. So this is the contracted amount to pay for the streaming videos that can be shown in classrooms.
thank you.
Other questions, comments about the contract? Russell.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Item number 12 is a budget transfer. Resolve the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the schools, authorize the following transfers for the 2016-17 school year as presented. Motion for approval of this evening's budget transfer. Jeff, second. James, discussion?
What exactly is this for?
This is just because of the way we budget Robin's salary through some grants. We cover it through the general fund, and we'll make an adjustment later in the year.
Any other questions about the budget transfer? Russell?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Joanne?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Is there any old business for this evening?
I just have one quick question. I missed the last meeting. Has there been anything done with that flag at the high school? It's a small item, but
Larry, the flag that was referenced at the high school, I thought that you guys looked at it and made some determination that it was, I think it was replaced, or which one was it specifically?
Public goods one that was kind of pink.
The school flag, not the American flag, the school logo flag.
Yes. It hasn't been replaced because it's not in yet, but a new one was definitely.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Yes. What I'll probably do is be taking that one down for the winter shortly. We usually take that down and then come summertime, springtime, we put that.
Thank you.
Other questions or other old business? Any new business this evening?
I have a couple of items. I had a few of the residents of the town that attend junior varsity games that had approached me and asked me why we don't play the national anthem before these games. And I inquired, and I gave them the response from the athletic director, which was multifaceted. And their response was, we have a beautiful flag that sits in the middle of the field, or in the middle of the athletic arena. Why, if we're not singing the national anthem, why can't the pledge to the flag be said during the junior varsity games? So I'm proposing that question. Is it something that can be addressed? And
there's a long-standing sports etiquette guideline regarding the national anthem being played only once at a single facility, regardless of the number of games being played. So if you go to a baseball doubleheader, they play the national anthem at the first game, not the second game. The same goes for if two football games are played in the same stadium, if the Giants and the Jets were to play at home on the same day on the same stadium. Technically, they're only supposed to play the national anthem one time.
They do that at all the playoffs. When
Yeah.
you go to any of the regional playoffs, when there's multiple games in a day, only the first game gets it. But the JV games, because we're barred from doing the scoreboard,
also don't have
there's
access to
no
the PA.
reason to play it. But there's no reason to, I don't think there's any regulation or
That
anything
says you can't say
that
the pledge.
prevents you can't say the pledge.
right, I mean, I think one of the concerns was that so many of these kids are being brought up in the town leagues, and you attend any of the town league games, and they're either saying the pledge or the national anthem is being played, and I certainly understand the reasons that were given. I think from a perspective of what these children have learned growing up, and now they're getting to an older age, and suddenly that has been instilled in them is no longer being a part of that foundation. And I don't know if it's being explained to them or not, but I think also too, the students obviously every day say the pledge to the flag, but a lot of the residents that come to the games, I think they especially, many of them are veterans, and I don't believe you need to be a veteran. I think you just need to love this country and be patriotic to be able to stand and salute the flag. And so I think that it would be a pretty easy fix.
Did she mention, I didn't have to follow up myself, but did she mention if there's any league restrictions on that, or is it purely a home team option?
She did not say that. She said that she gave the reason for having multiple games happening at once.
Which is an etiquette piece, I guess.
Yeah, that is an etiquette piece. Also, too, there is a component. I think that someone had mentioned along the way, if the National Honor Society has projects that they have to do, can't someone from the National Honor Society come and volunteer to play, bring their boombox? I don't know, do they even exist anymore? I'm really dating myself. What's a boombox? Bring their iPod. Oh yeah, I'm really dating myself still. Anyway, you got the drift. So is there a project that they could do? But then I guess that did become a flag etiquette issue So do you play it for, JV football? Do you stop another arena and have everyone, stand at one time? So I think there are those things that have to be figured out. As far as MHAL, I think, like Frank said, because they're not keeping score, you're not paying somebody to come in and do the whole.
But we should have a system that we should be able to put up also.
Let me
Like
spend
we
some
have
time
now.
looking at board
Doing
policy
this.
right now and see where that weaves into board policy, and maybe we can look at it from that perspective, because if the sentiment is that way for sporting events, then certainly the board may want to look at that from a broader perspective of other events as well. Certainly we say the pledge before each publicly assembled meeting, that's more a matter of state statute too. So let's look at it from a broader perspective if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Let me do some research on policy. Okay. Did you have anything?
I did. I'm listening to these amazing presentations given about all of the hard work that we're doing to prepare our children for college, and I mean, it's clear that the morale is up here in this school, and you all have a focus and a goal. I do have a concern about the children that are not, per se, college bound. There has been so much attention, it seems as of late, that we're a country that is no longer giving our children that are not college bound the skills that they need. And I know that we have a beautiful facility in Goshen that our children can go to in regards to VOTEC programs. My concern is, what is the process that these children are identified, they're talked to, they're counseled, are they encouraged? And furthermore, how do we encourage our children that fit into that category? How do we encourage them to say, I want to leave my peers for this specific time frame throughout the day? And because I think, as we all know, friendships, and the social camaraderie that goes on in high school is just as important sometimes. It ranks high up there. So how do we encourage them to take this trip? And furthermore, have we, or I shouldn't say have we, but I'd really like to be able to consider what we can do, whether it be with the facility that we have in Middle Hope, but I really believe that there would be an immediate return on our investment if we got the community together, whether it be local businesses, local tradesmen, and really identified a need that we have for children that are not college bound, but really have a passion in a certain area, and what we can do to identify that and get them the education that they need, so when they're leaving high school, they don't feel floundered and lost.
It's a great perspective. I'm going to see if I can put our high school principal on the spot. If not, ask him to weave that into his presentation during the high school's presentation. But he does also have a counseling background, so I'm going to guess he has some level of knowledge and information that he can give us on the spot regarding process and scope.
Sure. So I can't answer everything comprehensively, but I can certainly tell you that we
Mike, can you go to the microphone?
So students have opportunities to visit the facility as part of their sophomore year. They actually attend presentations and social studies classes. We have days that counselors come out from CTEC to talk about programs. There are conversations that we have, that the counselors have with kids to talk about different options that they have. Part of the Naviance program coming into our school this year is actually to help kids take a career interest profile. Older kids have already taken that. Younger students will be taking it later on in the year, and also a personality type assessment. And those are geared for counselors to have conversations with students, and for students to have conversations, just kind of think about things. I think it'd be great if you wanted to come to a presentation of that in the spring, to see students actually go through the process of taking those surveys and to see results. but they have the presentations that CTEC puts on. They have an opportunity to go out there and take the trip. It certainly is a mental obstacle for kids, I believe, to know that it is a long trip. But I know that there are fantastic programs out there, and I would say that an amazing number of kids participate in that program. From our school, they're encouraged to, they get the support that they need. OU BOCES does a fantastic job. If you've ever been out there, they have an amazing facility, and I guess that's the best I can do on the spot to kind of answer that question. I'd like to get more information for you, but I absolutely feel that we're meeting the needs of those students. I do absolutely feel that students who may not be looking at college right after school, or maybe looking to start a career while they attend school part-time, I think we're absolutely meeting those needs of those kids. And that is one of the most amazing transformations you're going to see with high school students, is actually students that maybe are not so bought into school in 9th and 10th grade, and they participate in the program. They wear a uniform daily in most of the programs. They attend, and they really become inspired to be successful, both at the CTEC program that also translates into their success back at the core school.
I'm also going to put someone on the spot right now, too. I failed to introduce Larry Berger, who's a Orange Ulster BOCES board member who's here tonight as a liaison, and maybe he can provide some perspective in that process as well. I also know Larry for a long time, so putting him on the spot is not that difficult. I think it is.
Yeah, some of the kids that I made a note of, copy typing away, I made a note to find out how many Marlboro students are actually participating now.
We have 2 buses.
I believe we have 70.
Yeah, 2 buses go out 84 each day.
The programs out there, I used to, not only am I on the board, I used to work at courses, and I was always amazed going through the building, the rigor that the students are put through. They have to not just fix cars, they are coming up with a whole business plan. They learn how to create a business. We've had kids, the last year we've had 2 students nationally recognized coming out of the automotive repair area. And that's just one small part of what they do out there. So yes, there's no, it's a nice number, 70. And we appreciate it. So if there's anything we can do to help you understand more what we do out there, I'll be glad to bring it forth next time we do.
Excuse me. I do have a question. What do we do with the special ed kids? They're supposed to be a skilled diploma. What are we doing in district for them that don't fit into the BOCES program? How are we addressing their education and how we're going forward with them to when they graduate? What is their next step and what have we done? Because that also has been put in place by the state.
Why don't we put that on our presentations, because that's a little bit more comprehensive than a quick answer, so let's put that on a future presentation. Perhaps we can weave it into the high school piece. Maybe Roseanne can partner with Ryan a little bit on that, so we can get a slide put together for that piece of it. But that's a much more comprehensive answer than just a 2-second soundbite, or a 2-minute soundbite, so. Okay?
Sure. Can I just add one piece? In the middle school, in 8th grade, they go into the classrooms as well. The CTEC program comes with the counselors to coordinate that, so they do get some awareness in this building as well. And at Power Up Night, all of the
November 7th.
November 7th, the CTEC programs are supporting many of the hands-on activities that the students are doing, so be it culinary or law enforcement. So they're going to have exposure to that as well. So that's just a little component that happens here before they have.
Do you see that, obviously a child saying, I have a passion in this area and this is what I want to pursue, that is ideal. And I know that the facility out there is phenomenal. My concern is that child that's kind of falling, in the cracks a little bit. Do we have an assessment process perhaps that, can identify that earlier on? So, obviously there's the educational component that has to be met, but so that child doesn't become discouraged, and then you start having an attendance issue and many other issues. Is there an early identification counseling type of process that we have that can help these children with,
Like at the middle level?
you know, just not whatever level, just, you know, obviously the early high school level, to get to a point where they can say, you know, because a lot of times kids are just not going to say, I'm going to go on the bus to Goshen, and, you know, maybe this is an opportunity for Orange Ulster BOCES to come a little bit closer, perhaps an annex in Middle Hope, I don't know. But
Every time I see Bill Hecht, I tell him we have space if he would like to rent.
I think Naviance that's new this year, right, Ryan?
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't ever had that before, so I think that's going to be that assessment.
Okay, thank you.
Other new business? Any other items?
Well, I have one. It's always cold in the buildings. No offense, but every time we come, it's always cold. Is the classrooms like this during the day?
Gotta keep them awake.
That's right.
No, I have to tell you, it doesn't keep you awake because for me, the colder I get, the tireder I get.
He also does keep the germs down, too.
It is chilly.
It is a little chilly here. I think Larry tries to keep the ambient temperature down also depending upon the size of the crowd. So, you know, you
It's
were...
not normally this cold feeling in
Right.
now.
When you fill this room with a bunch of middle schoolers,
But it's not
there's some
only here.
energy that...
Yeah.
But I hear you, it is a little chilly. My hands are cold.
It is some of the other buildings too. That was it for me for other items.
At this time, we'll take the opportunity to recognize district residents that may have questions, comments for the board. If you do have questions, comments for the board, again, please approach the podium, speak into the microphone, state your name and town, and address the Board of Education. Mark.
I just want to ask a question about, recently it came to my attention that there was a swim meet that was canceled, and so mixed up with the football team, and also is there an issue with the pool itself? I just wanted to ask about that.
Yes.
So I can talk about the issue with the pool, and then somebody else can talk maybe about the other issue. But we did have an issue with the pool back when they did the high school renovation project. They did some repair work and some upgrades to the pool facility. Fortunately, when they didn't redo all of the piping associated with the filtration process, so what we discovered was we were having a problem with the backwashing of the filters, which is essentially how you clean the filters. The filters filter debris out of the pool. You then have to remove that debris from the filters. And they're sand filters, and what we had happen was we had 6-inch piping that was installed new, but it was adapted to existing piping, which dropped down to 2 inches. So in the backwashing of the filters, we didn't have enough volume of water passing through to effectively clean the filters. They could moderately clean the filters, but over the period of the last 4 or 5 years, the debris load just reached a critical point where we were no longer able to effectively clean the filters through the backwash process. So we did make some changes to that piping. We did really backwash that system on Saturday, and the pool bounced right back, and it was very evident, Larry was there to witness it, that the filters were pretty dirty with buildup over those period of years. So we now have a new process in place for backwashing those filters that will prevent that. Excuse me?
Past Saturday?
Yes. So that will prevent us from having, we're having turbidity problems, Mr. Lawler, which was essentially that when we were backwashing, we were kicking more material back into the pool instead of being able to flush that material out of the system. But we do have that in place. The other piece, Mr. Lawler.
And the other was, I think you're going to need to ask a question to the athletic director for the specifics, but there was a scheduling snafu that occurred on a Friday, I don't know if it was last Friday or the Friday before, with swimming, with space, with locker rooms.
There was a meet, wasn't it a swim meet?
Correct. Correct.
So it was canceled, this meet?
The swim coach and athletic director conferred and decided that the best thing to do would be to cancel it because of that.
Did that happen just once or twice?
I'm only aware of once.
we had cancellations also for the water issue.
Right, we had to move because of the pool, right, the clarity of the pool, but the scheduling piece was just one thing.
Yes, the meets they were canceled in the moment and moved for another day.
Right.
So,
Thanks.
now I have a question about the pool, because this is something that goes back a way. When we put the pool filter in, there were supposed to be brand new filters being put in. So this is telling me that these sand filters are not working properly.
No, they're working fine.
Sand filters work perfectly. The problem was a large pipe was dumping into a small pipe, so the volume couldn't be handled, so that actually kicked water back into the pool.
Right.
Once the sand filters got filled up with debris and could no longer mask the water that wasn't being kicked back, it actually started kicking debris back into the pool. We've resolved that now.
And I understand it, but what I'm saying is that we're not cleaning the filters properly, or we're not cleaning them the way they should be cleaned.
That is correct. We were not able to do that because we weren't able to get enough volume of water to fluidize that sand bed in those filters and remove that debris. But we've since replaced, and we now run 6-inch piping all the way through the discharge, so we no longer have that restriction. And that was what happened Saturday, is we backwashed that, and we are now effectively backwashing.
To be clear, we thought we were cleaning the backwash system, but it wasn't kicking any debris back in the pool, so we didn't realize that it wasn't actually backwashing the sand filter. We hit that level where it does kick it back.
My question is, who is responsible for the maintenance of the pool? Who's supposed, because
This is not a maintenance issue, this is a physical pipe issue.
Right, but we fixed the pool, because I was part of the process of doing with the pool, and when we put the new system in, everything was supposed to be put in and replaced. The same thing with fixing the hole that we emptied out the pool for 2 years. So when that system went in, my question is, apparently we fell through the crack here and we did not fix everything and put it in right. And for the last 2 years, the pool's been back up and running, or 3 years, the pool's back up and running. This problem has been continuing to happen. It just doesn't happen in 6 months or 3 months.
Is, what's happened is the debris load in those filters was not at a critical point. So the filters were absorbing that material. We were partially backwashing, but it just over those period of years gotten to a load of material in those filters that it was no longer effective when we backwashed to clean them enough to prevent that material from clouding the pool.
No, we can do, because it'd be easier to actually see the space. When we go to the high school for the presentation, let's go down, let's make a note that we make sure we go into the pool filter room so we can actually see what occurred and get an idea of the volume of water that we're talking about.
Sure.
But who's responsible? It is a collaboration between Larry's staff that is responsible for the maintenance of the pool, chemicals, filtering, backwashing, all of that, and the athletic director as the pool operator. So it's a collaboration between the two. But this was a physical pipe problem, and we can show it to you when we get to the pool.
So my next question would be, is it worth keeping the sand filters?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Or do we go,
absolutely.
or do we go to the fingers?
No, these
No, this is a perfectly good filtration system. We just had a piping problem. Too big of a pipe was blowing too much water into a small pipe, so it ended up forcing debris back into the pool.
You're effectively, when you reduce from a 6-inch pipe, which is huge, to a 2-inch pipe, you're restricting the volume of water that can move through the system.
Right. With very high PSIs too.
Correct.
So it was
Now
very.
this filters, now you go back to the old piping, the improper piping, and you probably have 2 or 3 years before we hit that critical point again. But we're not going to do that. We're going to use the new piping, so we'll never get to that point again.
Great question, so thank you. But we'll make a point of making sure we go into that lovely room.
Any other questions, comments from the public this evening? We do have an executive session scheduled for the proposed or pending or current litigation and an employment history of a particular person. We will have action afterwards if anybody is interested in knowing what that action is, although I suspect that it will be published on the website as well. We can certainly notify you of anything. Motion to go in executive? Frank, second? James? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all for coming, and thank you for the presentation this evening.
glad to have you back. Don't worry, we're going to have some great time.
Yes, we're going to have
So
fun.
happy to have you back.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
See you again, how are you? Good.
They're going to slip into a session here, so I guess we'll...
Oh, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Congratulations.